Hello, I'm Josh of Daleks Aren't Robots. Before we begin the episode, we wanted to talk about actors Noel Clarke and John Barrowman. As of recording this, more than 20 women have accused Clarke, who plays Mickey on Doctor Who, of sexual harassment, sexual assault, and predatory behavior. Following that, old interviews resurfaced in which other Doctor Who cast members recalled Barrowman engaging in full nudity and shoving his genitals onto them on set as a joke. Barrowman plays Captain Jack Harkness on the show. We will cover both men in the future and intend to discuss their behavior when they next appear or reappear in our watch-through. For now, we want to say that we do not condone or defend the behavior described in the allegations and condemn any set or producer who allowed it. Our sympathies right now go out to the victims. We also do not condone any internet abuse of anyone involved, especially not towards those who have stepped forward. Thank you for your patience. We hope you enjoy the cast. Hello, and welcome back to Daleks Aren't Robots. As always, I am joined by my friends. We have Kari.
Hello.
We have Zach.
Hello.
Justin sadly could not make it again this week. He will hopefully be back next time. But in the meantime, we have a special guest on the DAR podcast. You may know her D&D based TikToks as AlanaPon47. Alana, say hi, Alana.
Long-time listener, first-time caller. Thank you for having me.
Yes, fan of the show, Alana. So normally this is where I would give the premise, which is that Zach and I are Whovians, Kari is a non-Whovian, and we are taking her and usually Justin through all of Doctor Who. But Alana, your Whovian status has not yet been determined for the internet. Would you care to reveal your place in the Who fandom now?
So my place is a little odd. I'm a new Whovian because I've really only watched the newer episodes. And I kind of fell out for a while until you were like, no, I promise you, Series 11, right? Series 11 is really good. And then I binged that all in like 2 days. And it is quite excellent, especially when the enemy is capitalism.
Yay, death to
Just
capitalism.
like real life.
But yes, I don't know if you were the one who got me into it originally in college. It was either you or Justin, not your Justin,
No,
the Justin
other Justin.
other Justin. One of you guys got me into it in college. This was back before Netflix really did their streaming everything and all the other streaming sites. And I have to admit, I watched it on not so legal means. I think I watched a lot of it on streaming sites. I got to episode 4 of series 1, actually gave up, and then like a year later tried it again and got like super into it.
So you also had some issues with the first few episodes.
Yes, I did.
But you overcame them and you became a fan of the show. So we are now back on our modern Who with the second episode in the first series with Christopher Eccleston, End of the World. Kari, do you want to give the summary or should we pass that on to our guest for the day?
I don't know. What would you prefer?
Frankly, I think it'd be funnier if you did it.
Well, I don't know about that, but I'll do my best. It's pretty simple because they only have an hour now, so there's only so much faffing around they can do.
They actually only have 45 minutes.
Yeah, so it's even less.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Doctor takes Rose to the end of the world, which is 5 billion years in the future, which is the worst idea for a first date ever.
Exactly what I said.
I don't know why he thought this would be a good idea. Here, watch the destruction of everything you love.
Because obviously having an existential crisis is like the best setting for a first date.
Yeah, that's so romantic, buddy.
The Doctor is basically
Okay.
that dude who, like, instead of thinking, okay, what would be romantic or what would be cool, he's just trying to flex.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to take you to the most expensive restaurant in my Lamborghini and, like, you know,
What?
my best suit.
Like, dude, I just want Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not even that good. Like, oh God, what would be a good comparison? I don't know. Taking someone to somewhere where the pores are dying and just like watching them.
And then like flirting with everybody else there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Show how cool you are.
There's an episode of Black Monday where Don Cheadle, in order to impress this guy he's trying to woo over to his company, takes him to a public execution.
That actually sounds pretty comparable.
Yeah, it does. Bad idea.
Yeah.
Don't take people to the end of the world for a first date.
And then like he's like mad at her for like not being impressed.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, he was. He legitimately was. So they get there, a bunch of rich people are watching the sun go nova on like a space station type deal. And then one of them sabotages the space station. So it turns into kind of like a locked room mystery type deal. But Rose gets stuck in a room for the last half of the episode while the doctor saves the day with some other chick. The end.
Okay, we can branch out from there. No pun intended. First things first, we should talk about the doctor. Last episode, the doctor was kind of the saving grace. How do you feel about him here, Kari?
Okay, the doctor is the star of this episode, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that, but it's to the detriment of every other character in it, especially Rose. And at first it seemed super familiar to me, and I couldn't quite place what it was. I couldn't figure out, why does this situation feel super familiar? And then I realized what it reminded me of. I know everybody's going to hate me for saying this, but it's just this episode, so don't go react, but it's Twilight. This episode is Twilight. In this episode specifically, the doctor is Bella Swan, and the other characters only exist to develop his character, to tell him how great he is, to flirt with him, unless they're bad guys, and then they exist to be killed by him.
Dang, that's hardcore, but that's accurate.
It is.
Yeah. Like, I think it's because of the way that they basically hired fans of the doctor to write the show.
Yeah.
They were fans of the doctor, so at least in this episode, it's a fanfic. They put their OC version of the doctor center stage to show off how cool he is. And so, like Twilight, it's basically a canon fanfic. I'm sorry for saying that. It sounds really mean.
Girl, speak your truth. Speak
Yeah.
your truth.
And it's not a great fanfic, although there's some things that I do like about it. But every version of the Doctor I've seen has been arrogant, but the show, previously, they always knew it, and they didn't frame it as a good thing, and he got his comeuppance a lot of the time. That doesn't happen here.
Yeah, he basically just like, he's always perfect.
Yeah, look at me, I'm awesome. And then the show is like, yeah, look at him, he's awesome.
And they like basically punish Rose in the end for being
Yeah.
angry at him by revealing the whole like my planet is dead. Like she's like, yeah, my planet just died too. I just watched it. You brought me here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they punish Rose for not being sufficiently impressed.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they're like, they punish her basically being like, I just watched my whole planet die. Like, everyone here is an alien. The only human is the bitchiest trampoline.
Yeah.
And then he's like, well, my whole planet's dead and everyone's gone. And okay, it doesn't negate my feelings.
Yeah.
No, I do like that they characterize the doctor as kind of childlike in a lot of ways and kind of
Oh,
giddy.
yeah.
Like that actually does work.
I love like the little dances he does. I
Yeah.
love like him running around.
Mm.
I haven't watched the Eccleston era in a really long time. And this is gonna sound so weird, and I don't mean this in like a visual way. I literally mean this in the way he acts. He's very cute. He's
Yeah,
very
Yeah.
kind of.
childlike. He's enjoying himself. By the way, can we talk just real quick about like the TARDIS? How much you want to bet that all those knobs that he's spinning and pushing and everything actually don't mean anything? They're just
Actually, that wouldn't surprise me now that you
it's-
say that.
basically like a fidget spinner, but it looks really impressive. So he
It's
I
like those
think you're right.
things they give babies that have all of
Oh,
the
yeah.
little
Yeah,
knobs
it's a
and stuff that
mobile.
don't do anything.
It's a mobile.
Yeah.
yeah, and literally
Yeah.
I was gonna say literally all he actually has to do is like push a button and like they can go, but he's like, oh, but if I spin this, it'll look really cool. If I push this, if I make it look like I'm pushing all the things.
Yes. I mean, I like the childlike stuff, but the show doesn't seem to recognize that, like, the smugness and the arrogance is part of the immaturity,
Yeah.
that he needs to grow beyond that. That might just be this episode. There might have been a rewrite, there might have been a reason, but in this specific episode, it's not great. He
Mhm.
also murders somebody on screen, and there's like not a lampshade. You know, they don't try to make us believe that they're not actually dead.
And he gets really cold when he does it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that doesn't read
He
quite
lets
right
her
either.
Pop like a balloon.
Yeah.
I was like, I remember that happening from when I originally watched this, but I don't remember how graphic it
No,
was.
I forgot about the bit of her that flies over his shoulder.
Yeah.
And he's just kind of like, cool. And I'm like, I forgot. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
I literally wrote the doctor just like Cassandra Pop, cold-blooded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, and that didn't read quite right either. And it makes you question, like, we joked about him murdering the Nestine consciousness, but now I'm starting to wonder, like,
And it's so funny because as the show goes on, he becomes violently anti-murder. Like, I don't think that's a plot spoiler or
no,
anything. I mean,
it's
like,
not.
you know what I mean, Josh. Like the whole
I
like
do.
I mean, like the companions help him out with that, but like
The
he
man who never
becomes-
would.
Yeah,
Even
we've-
I've heard it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The man
Oh,
who never
God.
would. Like this beginning, he's like hella pro murder, apparently.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think that they were trying to find the balance between like old Who and new Who, probably, because from what I've heard from this podcast, he wasn't afraid to,
Get his hands dirty.
yeah. He was, I don't know if you guys watch Kimmy Schmidt, but like I hit that bitch with a bat. That feels like the doctor's theme song.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised that they were willing to do that. And yeah, she was obviously the bad guy, so okay.
Like honestly, she could have been put in prison.
She wasn't even threatening anybody at that point.
She didn't have her dues. She didn't have her moisturizer.
No.
Yeah, that was pure revenge.
Yep.
That was pure cold revenge for Jabe.
But I don't see a problem with the characterization. The problem is that the show doesn't realize that he needs to grow.
Yeah.
It's the Ian issue that we had in the first few episodes of the Hartnell era. It's not that the character's bad, it's that the show
Yes.
doesn't recognize the character's flaws as flaws, at least not yet.
Like I said, it's been a while since I watched series 1. I'm pretty sure he gets better. I think especially once you get to the Doctor Dances two-parter. But that one like really shows a lot of like
That's a really
the
good
growth.
episode.
The first seasons of things are just, it takes a while to get the rhythm and to really nail down the characters and the arcs and what you're going to do with it.
Yeah.
Especially with a show with as much history as Doctor Who.
It does.
Yeah.
And just
Yeah.
like, even if you look back at Star Trek TNG, that's the classic example because the first season is just awful. It's just terrible.
I still haven't gotten
Like,
through it. I got
it's
to
real
the second
bad,
part of the
real
Q
bad.
episode, which is literally episode 2.
Oh God,
Yeah.
the 1950s tribal Africa thing.
Oh no! But yeah, no, I feel like definitely with Doctor Who, I feel like they were trying to balance a show with all this history, but like date it to make it interesting for like the current age.
I do think Kari's right because Russell is a fan. Most of the writing staff are fans. I feel like they wanted to show the Doctor being as cool as they remembered him being, not realizing that if you go back and watch the old episodes, well, the Doctor is cool, he's also a dick, and the show recognizes he is a dick and
And
will.
he gets himself in trouble constantly.
Yeah,
The mythicness of the new Who Doctor gets built up a lot.
yeah, it does. Sadly, that only gets bigger
Oh,
as the show
God.
goes on, especially when we enter the Moffat era.
Oh,
Everyone at home,
Ah.
everyone at home, take a shot.
I have coffee. Can I take a shot of coffee?
Though Tennant
An
gets
espresso shot.
Tennant's era does get there.
Oh, Tennant's era does get there too, but Moffat.
Oh, Moffat takes it to a whole new level. He basically turns
Yeah.
the Doctor
I-
into Jesus.
So we've talked a lot about the Doctor and other stuff. How about we jump on to Rose? Mentioned her a bit, but is there anything that you guys want to talk about Rose?
We spent a whole episode setting up Rose as the POV character. And in this episode, she gets damseled really hard at the halfway mark. And she just lays there and whimpers while she waits for the Doctor to save her and everyone else. She literally lays there and whimpers. And it's not even just
Yep.
that it's kind of sexist, although it
It
is,
is.
but it's also bad writing because
doesn't do
you
anything.
gave us a point of view character and then you stuck us with Jabe, who is an interchangeable woman, apparently, because women are interchangeable or whatever. But then, like, we have to have another point of view character for that part? Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
You just established one for an hour.
I'm honestly not sure Jabe even is the point of view character. It's like for that period, the Doctor becomes a point
Yeah.
of view character.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll get into this later, but I did love Jabe's character design.
Yeah,
She's
she looks
really
great.
cool.
I'll get into that
Yeah.
later, but like, yeah, you're right. Rose really gets the short end of the stick in this episode. I don't like Rose anymore, and that's just something that comes with the territory of watching New Who.
At some point when watching New Who, either you absolutely fall in love with Rose and become one of the diehard Rose Rose stands,
Or you become
or
me.
you really grow to just despise her.
Listen,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, Josh knows me. I'm a Donna Noble stan, and I feel like if you love Donna Noble, you don't like Rose.
Yeah.
That makes sense from what I know, which isn't much, but
The
that does make sense.
personalities very much clash.
I will also say I feel like part of my hatred of Rose has come from the fact that the Rose stands in the mid to late 2000s were just absolutely insufferable.
Oh my god.
I'm terribly sorry, but if you had a Tumblr wall
Oh
with
god,
images
no.
of Rose and the Doctor on it, fuck you.
Oh my god, that one screen, I'm not gonna spoil anything, but that one screenshot everywhere. It was
Yep, yep.
everywhere.
Yes, it was.
I am done with that screenshot. That was not sad to me. I'm sorry.
No.
It's sad in a contextual level, I guess, but it will never emotionally get to me as much as I was going to be with you forever. I'm just
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, I feel for Rose in this episode. I feel bad for her. The girl is having a freaking existential crisis. This is her first time seeing real, well, not her first time, but like there is a lot going on. She is having information overload. She is freaking out, and he has
And
no
the
sympathy
audience
for
is
her.
too.
Yeah.
The audience
Yeah.
is too. Like, she is our point of view character in that. They're throwing all of these names and places and things around, and it's
A
like, we don't know
giant
any of this
face in
either.
a jar is just looking at you.
All the Doctor tries to do for the existential crisis is give her a better phone plan so she can
Oh, her mom.
talk to her mom in the past.
Oh no.
Which I've got to say, I do have several questions on that.
Yeah, first of all, I do need to question this. How do you know you're calling your mom at the right time? Like, what day are you calling her on? Like, what is
What
the
year?
What
time?
year?
What
Yeah.
What
year?
year?
This is the worst possible time zone mix-up you could make.
I know. I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, this is cool and all, but like, how do you know that it's still working on her timeline? She could have been like, hi, mom, it's me. And she's like, what are you talking about? You're in the kitchen sitting right next to me. This is 3 years ago.
Right. But I don't think too hard about stuff like that because it's Doctor Who. So I'm like, okay, sure.
Yeah, like-
I
alright.
don't remember exactly, but at some point they abandoned the phone thing.
Yeah.
And that was probably for the best because it raised
Except
so
they
many questions.
do kind of keep bringing it back for longer than they should.
Yeah.
It's a plot point.
I feel like, especially with modern era technology, just because everyone has a cell phone, everyone lives on their cell phone, they needed to have that there to really tie her back to like her time period, I guess, and to make sure she's connected to like the people there.
I think since this was a show for younger people, they wanted to take the edge off of it a little bit.
Oh yeah.
So they introduced that
Oh,
in
maybe
there.
don't explode people on screen then.
No, that's
Maybe.
fine.
Just a thought.
That's fine,
This-
but God forbid we go without our cell phones.
This does
Yeah.
feel like a bit of a carryover from the issue with the last episode, where it's like jokey, joke, and then suddenly it's a
Murder.
mall shootout.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, guys, are you okay over there?
England, are you okay?
England.
Do you need to talk to someone?
England, like, BetterHelp is here for you.
Hey, we're not getting paid for this.
I know, I'm sorry. This is an unpaid sponsorship.
Hey, you know what? Maybe we'll get a
That would be
sponsorship.
Maybe
out
I'll
of
nice.
this.
get the therapy I need.
Oh god.
Maybe. But something I do want to bring up, we've talked about Eccleston's performance a little bit, and I think he's very good. I was really impressed with Billie Piper, especially since, and maybe I'm wrong here, she was not an actress before this. I think
Really?
this was her first real acting gig.
I think I remember that.
Yeah, she was a pop star.
Yeah, she was known for being a pop singer.
Real quick, was she on Penny Dreadful?
She was.
Oh,
She
okay.
was.
She was, but I think that was right after.
Okay, yeah.
She's done a lot of acting since.
She has, because she was on that show, Diary of a Call Girl, which I've heard good things about.
Yep.
I remember Matt Smith played a character who had sex with her on that show. And I remember that going around the internet because it was basically being used to troll the Rose
Oh
stands.
my God.
Kind of nice there. Matt Smith did actually call Billie Piper the second he got the role to ask what it was like being on Doctor Who.
Aw,
That
that's
is
cute.
cool.
But yeah, I'm not a Rose stan. I think I've made that pretty clear.
Yeah.
But I was impressed with her this episode. I mean, this is kind of funny, but like she brought a lot of humanity to the episode.
Yeah.
Because yes, this is amazing what she's seeing, but like she's overwhelmed. It's a very human response. This is also terrifying and
Yes, it
new
is.
and a lot of information to take in. And she plays it very realistically. Like she kind of has a panic attack.
She does, and it's a great audience surrogacy.
Yeah.
And I feel like they don't bring that up as much. I mean, they bring it up a little bit more now. They are a bit more realistic with it
A little
now.
bit.
But like, especially in that era, the closest I think we get is like Martha's second episode. But like, we don't really see that because now it's all about like, oh, the doctor's amazing. And the companions are just so overwhelmed by how cool he is and how this is wonderful and magical. But like, it's also scary.
Yeah, I feel like the Chibnall era brought that back, though, and
They
I am
did.
thankful for that.
I've been very grateful for the Chibnall era because I feel like we're going back to what made Doctor Who good, but we're not in
Yeah.
the Chibnall era right now. We're in the Davies era. I was very impressed. First of all, it's good acting,
It
Yeah.
is.
but I feel like the writing punishes her a lot.
It does.
Like, it
Yeah.
punishes her for not being more amazed.
Yeah.
That sucks because it's a stupid line, but it makes sense when she's like, all of the aliens are so alien.
Yeah.
And the problem with that line is the episode tries to play it as, look how dumb she's being.
Yeah, I feel like this kind of goes back to Davies' issues with people of a lower class, for lack
yeah.
of a better term.
Like,
Oh.
she just can't appreciate how great
Yeah.
this is.
Because there is
Yeah.
a lot of playing her as a rube, which I don't like.
Because she's not.
She lived in freaking London. It's not exactly the backwoods sticks.
No, it is
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
One of my favorite lines is like, he's my ride. It's not like I can get home on my own.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And acknowledging that she's basically stuck there
Yep.
is a big deal.
Yeah, can't
Like,
call a cab.
at that point, she can't even call home.
No.
Yeah.
If anything happens to her here, her family won't even know what happened to her.
Yeah.
And with women, that's I think that they made that a lot more powerful than they meant to, because that is terrifying.
She's
Yeah.
basically at the mercy of a man she just met.
Yep.
Yep.
This is why when I was dating, my friends are like, why didn't you let guys pick you up? They should be treating you. I'm like, nope, I need an exit strategy.
Nope.
Yeah.
No.
You don't know who they are.
Nope.
Always take your own car.
That's how you get murdered.
That is how you get murdered. Also, if a date's bad, you just kind of want to dip sometimes. And the fact that you can see on her face that moment when she's like, oh my God,
What have I done?
what have I done?
Yeah. I don't think they meant that to be as powerful
No.
either, but it definitely was.
All the props to Billie Piper for that moment.
Yeah.
Like the conversation she has with the plumber girl is so good. I
It
like those
is.
moments.
Yeah. That was great.
It's really clever, I think, how she and the plumber girl start to bond, and then they start talking about where they are, and they cannot relate again.
Exactly. When she's like, well, where are
Yeah.
you from? And she's like, oh, I'm from here. And she goes, that's a planet. She goes, no, the other thing. And Rose is just like, oh. And she realizes she can't tell her, like, I'm from Earth because Earth is literally exploding below them.
Yeah.
Right.
Suddenly, Mickey's reaction seems a little more sensible, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it
Yeah.
does.
Coming back to, because as I've mentioned before, it's been so long since I've watched this series. Going back, they sacrifice so many kind of logical reactions to basically pump up the Doctor.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's
yeah.
Bella Swan.
He really is.
Yeah.
Except kind of worse because, like, Bella's a blank slate character. He's not Bella Swan. He is, oh my God, what's that Harry Potter fan fiction that is just
Oh, the My Immortal?
My
Maya Mortal? He's basically that girl who can do everything and everybody loves and everybody falls for and has all the powers and is so smart. He is the prototypical Mary Sue.
I mean, the psychic paper was.
The
Yeah.
psychic paper, I will say,
yes.
like right now is hella Mary Sue, but it does get funnier later when it doesn't always work the way he
Yeah,
wants it to.
it does.
They turn it into a nice gag at points.
One of my favorite gags comes during the Matt Smith era where he holds it up and he tries to make it say, I'm a responsible adult. And they go, that's just a blank piece of paper. Oh, I guess there's only so far that psychic paper can go.
That one is, I forgot about that one. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
Because sometimes he wouldn't even say anything. He would just kind of hold it up and people would read it out loud and he'd be like, okay. And he'd
Sure.
just kind of go with it. Yeah, I'm the inspector.
I mean, that is something that the Doctor would do, to be fair. We've seen him do stuff like that. So, okay.
I
but
do want to say that psychic paper is a new Who invention. That
It
did
is.
not show up in classic Who.
he
at
already
all.
had a magic wand because that wasn't powerful enough,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
God.
the magic wand gets
More magical.
powerful in New Who. I also wanted to just note that as much as we were complimenting the conversation with the plumber girl and all that, that almost wasn't in the episode. They decided at the last minute to cut a bunch bunch of other scenes and that got added in.
Okay.
That was actually smart then.
That
yeah,
was
good call.
I liked Rose because she couldn't connect with any of like the rich aliens
No.
because she has nothing in common
Yeah.
with them. Has something in common with another working girl, even if she
Right.
is an alien.
Yeah.
Workers of the universe and time stream unite.
Yes.
And she came
Exactly.
off as just a normal person, which was nice.
She was just
Yeah.
somebody doing her job. Just
Alright. Yeah.
I'm just a plumber.
So I think we should move on to side characters. I want to start us off with Jabe, the tree lady.
Yes.
She looks great. She exists to flirt with the doctor, though, to feel sorry for the doctor, and then to sacrifice herself for the doctor so that the doctor can be a hero.
Great
which is
character design.
Bad because, yeah, exactly, because her character design is really cool. Like, I really like that too. And she
Yeah.
seemed like an interesting person. She seemed like a curious person. She made sure to scan him to figure out what the heck he was.
Yep.
You said that this was kind of a chop job before, and I almost wondered if Rose was supposed to help the doctor at the end originally, but they replaced her with Jabe.
Like they spent a lot of money on like all these cool makeup designs and character designs, and they're like, well, we have to use at least one of them.
Yeah, was that a thing?
No.
No. Okay.
They tried to make her a character, but the whole reason they had Jabe's character was to start teasing the whole Last of the Time Lords thing.
Like somebody needed to introduce, oh, the Time Lords are like an actual known thing and blah blah blah. And
And the doctor is the special,
the special, the last of the Time Lords.
Yeah.
the last son of Krypton, I mean Gallifrey.
Again, that's something invented for New Who. Obviously, in Classic Who, there were Time Lords all over the place.
We couldn't get rid of them.
Allegedly, Davies said that he originally did the Last of the Time Lords thing, though, mostly because he wanted to just simplify a lot of the past canon going into this. So he wanted to.
Simplify.
I feel like this complicates it a lot.
Did you watch the show?
We had it a whole ass war.
You
Yeah.
added a whole ass war, and like in this episode alone, half of the thing is like, oh, here is so and so. They're from such and such. Like, oh, okay, sure, simple.
On that case, I think they wanted to overwhelm you a little bit.
Oh yeah, but like, no, that's not simple.
Also,
Yeah.
remember when Face of Bo was a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to Face of
That's
Foe.
fine. I needed to make that comment. But yeah, you feel like Rose in that moment when they're just introducing
Right.
everyone rapid
Yeah.
fire.
I understand that that's why they did that, but it's like, no, you didn't simplify anything then.
Just back to Jabe for a minute. They ended up making her look like a silver birch. That was their decision for why
Oh.
she looked like that.
That's cool.
At points, she was going to be much more barky looking.
Ah.
They were considering oak and things. Unfortunately, you can't actually see it, but they had like birch leaves like incorporated into the face makeup, but you can't see it.
You can see it a little bit on the top of the head.
Yeah.
I did love that line. I'm actually descended from like the rainforest or something. And I'm like, that's actually pretty cool. That's a cool
Yeah.
concept.
That was neat. I did like
Yeah.
that too.
It makes sense that over time, things like that would possibly evolve. Time does weird things to everything. And after
Yes.
5 billion years, yeah,
Yep.
why wouldn't trees evolve into sentient beings? Was she like somebody famous?
I know she played in the Doctor Who audios.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Doctor Who fan fiction.
Hey, better at points than the TV.
Well, yeah, and so is a lot of fan fiction.
Yeah. There's a whole novel about how a lot of people prefer fan fiction to actual books.
Yes.
Fangirl is a great book, by the way.
Mm.
Okay, so we covered Jabe. What about Ruffalo, the plumber? I did like her.
I
Yeah,
did.
she was
We didn't
fun.
get to spend enough time with her, and I felt like she was
and
kind of
she's
fodder.
murdered by the plot very quickly.
She's mostly
Yes.
there to be just likable enough that you feel bad when she's murdered.
I feel like New Who does that a lot.
They do, especially in the Davies era. Davies absolutely loves doing that.
It's CSI Law and Order syndrome, where somebody is brought in the beginning just long enough that like you get a little bit of their personality, but they're mostly just there to get murdered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like this episode has issues with women.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh god. I was
Yeah.
rewatching it and like, yes, Cassandra sucks.
Oh,
I'm
God.
sure we'll get more into her. But
Yeah.
they really hate on her basically for choosing to get plastic surgery.
Yeah.
Yes, yep.
Actually, maybe we should jump to Cassandra here.
She's heavily female coded, way more so
Yeah.
than any of the other women in this. Yeah, she says she's a boy, and we're going to talk about that, but she's also racist.
Yeah.
But her biggest trait is that she's vain, and she's gotten plastic surgery so many times. She is literally skin stretched out on a rack with some makeup on it,
Yeah.
which she gets called out for, but that's like a super female coded coded thing. Like vanity is
yeah.
always the female flaw in Western civ.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like that was super, super obnoxious to me.
Also, like, I'm realizing now that whole like boy comment, I'm like, that's actually like kind of gross.
I want to get to the boy comment a little later because that is a
That's a whole
massive
thing.
can of worms. But Zach, you and I both know that there's a little more to the plastic surgery thing that makes it worse.
Yeah.
It can get worse.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Show, I want to like you. I want to like you, Show. Stop making it hard.
I know. Why are you making it difficult?
One of the things that Davies does, and a lot of writers have done this, Robert Holmes, I mentioned, would do this, is he had a tendency to take a lot of things in the real world that really bugged him and try and make whole episodes built out of them or whole characters built out of them. We'll see later that he tries to make an episode out of just being pissed off at traffic on his morning commute.
Is this Holmes or?
Gridlock.
Oh my god, that's a good episode though. I like it. We watched that in one of our, I don't know if you were in that class with me, but we actually watched that in, I think, like our sci-fi TV
Yeah,
class.
sci-fi TV.
The teacher said it's a good example of world building, which I was like, that's actually not bad.
Yeah.
I like the different cars, but anyway.
Yvonne Leach and I had a lot of disagreements on Doctor Who. The exact phrase I believe she used was she declared all of Classic Who an interesting curiosity, but does not really hold up, which
Okay.
I took.
Josh took
No,
that
you're just
personally.
wrong.
And I took that personally.
That's
And I
just
took
not
exception
correct.
to that.
Yes. I have the quote.
Oh gosh, okay. Kari,
I
are you
believe
ready?
it's the quote you're thinking of, Josh.
Yes, it is. So this is Russell talking about his inspiration for Cassandra.
In his own words, this is basically after watching the Oscars. It was horrific seeing those beautiful women reduced to sticks. Nicole Kidman struck me in particular. Nicole is one of the most beautiful women in the world, but she looks horrifying because she's so thin. It's like we're killing these women in public. We watch while you die.
To be totally fair to him, there was a time period where Nicole Kidman did look really
Yes.
Yes.
unhealthy. But like, you should not be commenting on that.
No.
Like, I was actually talking with some friends last night. We were discussing beauty standards and everything, and it's so unfair because women have it so unfair as is. First of all, there's so many unrealistic beauty standards, obviously, but then when we try to uphold these beauty standards, we get punished for it.
Yep.
'Cause
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
exactly, like, because, oh, if you're not the ideal, you're not beautiful enough, you're not female enough, but you should be happy with the body God gave you. You shouldn't wear makeup, you shouldn't diet, you shouldn't get surgery, you shouldn't do this or that. God forbid if it makes you feel good about yourself.
Nope. You can't be too fat, but you also can't be too thin. Oh no. And it has to be natural.
It has to be natural. God forbid if you get help.
Never mind the fact that like it's natural to grow hair on your legs, for example.
Yeah.
We're not allowed to keep that. Oh no.
And like people are like, oh, but like you only wear makeup to impress people. Bitch, do you think my husband understands like the fact that like it took me 20 minutes to put on liquid lipstick? Like I do that shit for myself.
Plus, like most of the time, guys don't think you're wearing makeup when you are, and you guys don't even know most
They
of the
don't
time.
get it.
Like 90% of the time when somebody says, I think that women should wear makeup, and they'll show you a picture of an example, and it's like, she's wearing makeup, dude.
She's wearing foundation.
Yeah.
She's wearing very
Yeah,
light
it's
eyeshadow. She's done
just
her eyebrows.
Natural makeup. So you,
Probably got some highlighter on. Like
yeah.
tinted lips. Like there's so much going on there. Exactly as Kari said. It's damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like there's so many shitty things about Cassandra already. She's a racist. She's a murderer. We didn't have to shit on her for getting like if plastic surgery made her feel better about herself, fine, whatever. Or himself. I don't know. I don't know how I read Cassandra. I think I actually wrote that Cassandra's trans. Maybe not. Maybe in the future it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, we do need to talk about that.
Yeah.
We need to talk about that now.
Okay, so Leah, let's talk about the line. For people listening at home who maybe haven't watched the episode, there's a throwaway line in there that has become sort of infamous in a lot of Doctor Who circles where Cassandra basically says that she was growing up as a boy. Now, the intention of that line is something that has been furiously debated in
Yes.
the discourse, by which I mean pissy Doctor Who forums. There are two basic interpretations that people have. One, it is meant to say outright that yes, Cassandra is a trans woman, which would be very awkward for a number of reasons.
Awful for a number of reasons.
Awful for a number of reasons.
Because they use it
As a joke, as a
good
confusing joke.
They literally, I think they throw it in there just for shock value.
The other thing that people interpret it as, and it seems to have become the canon interpretation, although that's difficult to parse, is it's another example of how Cassandra is so distanced from modern day Earth culture that she doesn't even know the difference between boys and girls. She just assumed boy was a term for all children.
That's
And
weird.
she is kind of full of shit, so that kind of does make sense. Like the jukebox and the classic stuff, which also fell super flat.
I mean, I liked some of it. I did like when they played Toxic, but that's just me.
But that is a classic. That's like a legitimately good song. Like that was meant to be a joke, and it's like, no, Tainted Love and Toxic are actually really good pop songs.
Yeah.
I will say there's another potential interpretation for the classical music line, it being a potential nod to Classic Who. A companion refers to the Beatles as classical music.
But it does actually kind of make sense. We're so far in the future that pop music probably is classic music.
Yeah.
Well, and those are two legitimately classic songs of their eras.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Toxic is easily the best song Britney Spears ever made.
Yeah.
Just-
But back to Cassandra, that line can be interpreted so many ways. And like, it could just even be that it's so far in the future, gender isn't even like a thing. But I feel like, no, if that line had kind of been done in current Who, I'm sure it would have been a little more,
nuanced.
I think it was meant to highlight how unnatural she is.
That was exactly it. And that's gross because it's basically saying trans people are unnatural. And that is
unnatural is bad.
And it also, because of how her character is portrayed, her character fulfills all of the really negative trans stereotypes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Overly surgery.
Basically, except for being a sexual predator. That's pretty much the only one they didn't hit on.
Although, no, they hit on that too. Remember her comments about her husbands?
Oh, yeah.
No, they got that one too, Josh.
Hey, congratulations. You won transgender stereotype bingo.
You now.
And here's the thing. There is another source that would imply that it was very much intended as a trans joke.
No.
There is a book.
Oh, yeah. So it's not technically canon, but the information did come from Russell T Davies. It's a book called Doctor Who Monsters and Villains. It states Cassandra was born as Brian Edward Cobbs.
So she is trans, and they're making all the worst stereotypes about her.
Yep. Yeah. Here is where that gets even worse, though. If Cassandra is trans, and it looks like she is at least intended to be here, then she is the only trans character to have ever made it onto the show proper.
Boo.
She is the only trans representation that is featured in the show and not the EU.
Even now?
Even now, unless you count Time Lords regenerating into other genders, which...
That's more along the gender binary kind of thing.
Yeah.
In fact, the audio only just got their first transgender character like a year or so ago.
That is straight bullshit.
Especially if Cassandra is the only one we get.
Yes.
I mean, I know it was a different time, but that's real shitty.
It was 2005. Yes, I'm sorry.
It's been 15 years. I
guess, but like still.
Trans stuff is really only now becoming a thing.
I know, but I feel like this was big in the time, like making shitty jokes about stuff like that.
It was super big, and I'm glad we're finally getting away from that now.
Me too.
Caitlyn Jenner, as shitty an ambassador she is for the trans community, hadn't even come out yet. This is pre-Caitlyn Jenner.
True.
Yeah. Well, I don't like it.
There are so many other shitty things about Cassandra. They didn't have to add that in. Like, she was already shitty. She was racist and a murderer and just kind of a bitch. They didn't have to add that in. It's just gross.
The one thing I will add, just as a positive, apparently prior to this, Billie Piper had overcome issues with anorexia, and she said that her speech to Cassandra about rather being dead than ending up like Cassandra apparently was very cathartic for her. so I give her
Oh.
credit for that.
That's awesome.
Given we now know that Christopher Eccleston was also struggling with anorexia at the
Didn't know
time.
that.
Yeah, he just came out about that a few years ago. It's a bit of a moment for both of them.
It means this was a hard episode the writers gave to them to have to do.
Especially for
Yeah.
the second episode.
Yeah.
They're probably just getting their feet under and they're like, oh, hey, by the way, we're going to bring up your trauma.
Yeah. Incidentally, issues with his anorexia and issues with members on the crew are what Christopher Eccleston cites as his reasoning for leaving after only
Oof.
one series.
Oof.
And for not really associating with Doctor Who for over a decade.
And
Yeah.
honestly, I do not want to body shame him, but
No.
you can tell it on him in this, like his face is gaunt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to take a second to say, like, good for him for coming out and saying stuff, especially because,
know,
like,
right?
men's body issues is something we're only just now really, like, talking about
Yes.
and everything. So, you know what? Good for him for coming out, and I hope he's, you know, helping
Recovering.
himself. I hope he's getting the recovery and the help that he needs. I'm going to say, I think he's a good-looking man, no matter what size he is, and being healthy is all that matters.
Yeah.
He's a very talented actor who
He is.
deserves all the good fortune that he can get.
It was so funny when I was watching, I think it was the second Thor movie, and I know this isn't like a great movie, but like I could tell it was him even under all the makeup. I remember being
Yeah.
like, is that Christopher Eccleston? And like he's just got a good presence.
Just a
Yeah.
shame they didn't give him a character to play in that movie.
But there's a lot
Yeah.
of issues with that movie. So
Yeah,
let's,
there is.
let's
There is.
But this is not the Thor podcast.
No,
We need to talk about, since we're talking about the women, Jackie.
we don't get much of Jackie in
We
this
don't get
one.
much.
She only appears for a couple minutes, but she's still,
She
and
hangs
it's-
up on her own daughter.
well, kind of. They look like they were done. I get it. It's
Yeah.
cell phone time. They, you know, you
Nobody
did that.
knew. Nobody knew how to
I-
do things.
Oh, there's still the weird class undertones with her. They managed to get her in twice. Once about how Rose should get her money back for something, and once to tell her to pick up a lottery ticket because the greedy poors want the monies, I
Yeah.
guess.
They're easy monies. Don't forget,
Yeah.
it's the
Yeah,
easy
not
wanna
money they work for.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was interesting about it to me was that they obviously meant it to be like a heartwarming moment where Rose is connecting back with her humanness, but like they still managed to get those couple of digs in about the
Like the
poor
fact that her
wanting
mom's
money.
obviously Rose sounds emotional and her mom is just like not even noticing.
Yeah, Billy Piper gave a few comments on
Yeah.
Jackie here. You want to share those, or
Yeah, Piper felt that in series one, the relationship between Rose and Jackie is like any mother-daughter relationship, but there's also resentment there because Jackie is trying to stop her from moving forward. And then Davies on Jackie, though Jackie Tyler makes us laugh,
No, she doesn't.
he
doesn't
would
make me laugh.
uncover something sad at the heart of her. Well, this is Davies. This is not me.
a lot of people still really like that bit where she flirts with the doctor. They think that's hilarious.
Their same age.
I know.
She's an attractive blonde lady. They're
Yeah.
the same age.
This is actually
Yeah.
something I want to talk about with Jackie because the same thing with female coded characters and like punishing them for it. I noticed one thing about Jackie just in like all of her stuff. I feel like one thing that she does that is meant to show that she's like lower class and kind of trashy is she wears a lot of makeup.
Yes, she
Yeah.
does.
And it's that style of makeup too.
Oh my god, super 90s, like the oh
Frosted
my god,
pink lipstick.
frosted pink
Yep.
lipstick, the frosted blue eyeshadow. But like I feel like her clothes are kind of like a little too young for her. Like it's basically, I don't feel like they ever come out and say it, but it's definitely supposed to be like, oh, look how trashy she is. She wears too much makeup and her clothes are too young. God forbid a woman wears what she wants.
Yeah, this is a big problem. We're getting into the fact that both Jackie and Rose are meant to basically be chavs in the pejorative sense.
For people not familiar with Anglo language, chav is basically like, you know, trashy.
Trailer trash. They're trailer trash.
Well, yeah, it's
But city
Yeah,
trailer
the city
trash.
trailer trash.
I was gonna say hood rat.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
but I do think this particular style likely would be considered ghetto here
Ghetto,
in
that's
America.
Probably.
But it's more
Yeah.
class related than race related versus here,
I
where
think
it's
it's
very
white
race
white
related.
trash.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
probably the
Yeah.
closest.
and around 2003 actually was the rise of chav being a pejorative. It started dying out a little more. They started owning it more in the late 2000s, but right around the height of this show is the height of it being an insult from the middle class to the poor, not really working or unemployed, trying to be above their station type.
Thanks. I hate it.
Yeah.
Things I
yeah.
hate it. The one actually that kind of reminds me of Kingsman because
Yeah,
Eggsy
yeah.
is
Yep.
a chav, but then he becomes better. But I mean, it's still handled better in that movie than it is here.
Yeah.
Slightly.
Yeah, because he at least gets to be the hero.
Yeah.
To be fair, his mom is painted with a bit more sympathy than
She is,
Jackie
because
is.
it's less that like she's white trash and more that she just has bad taste in men.
Women in general are painted with less sympathy in the Kingsman franchise, but that's
Oh, that's a whole other can of worms that I
Yeah, we're not getting into
Again,
that.
this is not the Kingsman podcast.
no,
not.
no,
I'm not a fan of the way that they do Jackie.
I'm
no.
not either.
And
She doesn't get much better.
we'll keep coming back to this because I have more for later
The only
episodes with her.
character that's like not a woman in this is really the steward who gets any lines, but like the plot kills him really, really fast, so
Yeah,
Yeah.
he doesn't really matter.
I'm more just like not entirely clear what they were going for with the steward.
Queer coding?
I feel like he was supposed to be a comic character, but the actor plays him so straight and deadpan, I don't think it works.
I feel
He's
like
a
they also
fusser.
needed some form of authority to like kill off to
Yeah.
show that we're really in trouble.
Yeah, I will say that again, design wise, the cult of the infinite meme or whatever they're called, the cult of the eternal meme.
I love that name. I know that it's not what it is, but like I laughed.
I
The
do
repeating
think-
meme. The repeating meme.
Yeah.
Yeah, the repeating meme. Thank you. I do really like their look and their presence. They are very memorable, at least to me, with the claw.
They're
on-
so generic. I just thought that they
Yeah,
were
I
generic.
forgot about them until
Because they were
watching
just
it
guys
again.
in cloaks. Like, okay.
I would like to say, Josh knows that in college I was very into special effects makeup, and I feel like the character design and the makeup here, it varies so wildly. Some of it's amazing, like Jabe and the tree people. I think that's beautiful. And then some of it is just so bad. And I do appreciate them trying. You can tell that the budget was probably a little bit bigger here because they had like
They had
multiple
one.
aliens.
It
Because
helps.
this is where pretty much all of the budget for series 1 went, because Russell Davies didn't know how to account for a show, so he blew it all on the second episode.
First time sci-fi producer.
Oh,
How do
boy.
budget? Siri, how do I money?
I think it's the first season of Star Trek where they did the this is original series Star Trek, where the Enterprise brings on a bunch of ambassadors from other races. And from what I have read, that almost bankrupted the show because every race needed their own like little makeup thing, and makeup was just so expensive then that it was like ridiculous.
mean-
Like they had just getting an Andorian and a Vulcan on screen at the same time was so expensive to them.
And I'll get into makeup stuff later because I do have like my comments and everything. And but
Yeah.
I do want to save that for production.
Yeah.
Well, it's almost the setting though, because
Yeah.
the setting in this one is the characters in a way.
yeah.
That's what
This
I thought.
actual setting is not much.
Yeah, no, it's not. They're great designs. Some of them look kind of silly. I agree with you on that. The trees were probably the best one. The giant face was kind of cool.
Oh yeah.
I totally disagreed when Rose said that they were very aliens though, because it's like, no, the plumber's just like a girl.
For the most part, they're all still humanoids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they all talk
Mostly.
like normal humanoids. Cassandra might look like a freak, but she's vain like a regular person, and she's
Yeah.
greedy like a regular.
And
They're all
racist,
human.
like a regular person.
Yeah, they're all people.
I did want to get on to another thing that Russell brought up, and he's going to keep bringing up, and Russell and religion.
Yeah, I did wonder about that.
He puts his atheism into a lot of things, and he really forces the atheism.
No
at points.
teleportation and no religion.
Yep, I have the quote. Yes, I'm deeply atheist. If they haven't reached that point by the year 5 billion, then I give up.
Well, yeah, you won't be here.
Wow, nothing like being non-judgmental. Atheists are so much
He's-
more civilized than those horrible religious people. They're not bigoted at all.
Davies is a self-professed huge fan of Richard Dawkins, to no one's surprise.
Wow, no wonder he hates women. Okay, I shouldn't say that. No, you gotta cut that out. No wonder he has issues with women.
Yeah, I do find it funny though that in the episode where he says, I am banning all religion, he made the base look like a giant cross as the earth
Yeah,
explodes.
really weird.
Zack Snyder directed
not-
that shot.
Here's the thing, for all of Russell T Davies' hating of religion, he's not afraid to use a lot of Jesus imagery and make the Doctor Jesus at points.
Oh no, I do not want to watch season after season of Jesus.
There is a saying in atheist circles that I remember hearing where it's like, I don't believe in God, but the God I don't believe in is Jehovah. Where, like, despite the fact that atheists are atheists, they tend to still borrow very heavily from Judeo-Christian.
Which is fine. And I obviously don't have a problem with atheism at all either. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all. You can be a perfectly good person and be an atheist.
Yeah, I'm an atheist.
This just isn't one of those cases
It's
because
just-
he's being a dick about it.
Exactly. The whole thing is like, follow whatever religion you want. Follow your bliss. Just don't be an asshole to other people about it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, he literally just before making this season of Doctor Who had just made a mini series with Eccleston about an atheist retelling of the Second Coming. So
Heh.
yeah.
That's all I gotta say about that.
Okay, so do we have a couple of setting details we want to do before we move on to production?
Yes, the actual setting stuff, the observation room I thought looked nice. The images of the exploding Earth and the sun looked good. The engine room was a little,
Yeah.
this is bad CG time, but it wasn't bad enough to like hurt my suspension of disbelief or whatever, so it was fine.
I was kind of surprised at how well the spider bots have aged. Well, I think they were mostly CGI. I think there was some practical effects in there as well.
I like them. I liked how they started off kind of menacing, and then like near the end they just kind of
Yeah.
got cute.
Yeah.
Like, go back to your
Yeah.
mommy. I'm like, yeah, that's adorable.
And they add some details about the setting. Like they mention the war, they mention the Krypton stuff. The future is super classist.
Oh yeah.
Like plumbers have
Yeah.
to be given permission to talk even after being asked a direct question.
I'm not sure if that's plumbers or if that's like her role in that
That's a weird
species.
species. We get more details on them later. They're a weird species.
I did
Yeah.
like how basically the Earth exploding was considered an art event.
Artistic, yeah, they did mention that.
As somebody who, as Josh would know, who had to go to a lot of really weird art exhibits in college
Eh.
as part of like classes and stuff, like
Yeah, that scans.
it sounds about
Mhm.
right.
Yeah.
I once saw literally just a ton of yarn falling from the ceiling, and that was art.
Okay, so Davies thinks that religion is going to be gone after 5 billion years, but not capitalism.
No.
Oh no, capitalism only gets stronger.
Yes.
Yeah, because the future is super classist,
Yeah.
and like the motive for the crime was money. So
Yeah.
after 5 billion years, we've managed to get rid of religion, which is bad, but not capitalism,
And
which
even
is
forests
What?
are for profit.
Yeah.
I don't think he's saying capitalism is good since all the bad people in this episode are motivated by capitalism.
Yeah.
But he literally can't imagine that not existing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That fits.
Okay.
No religion.
No.
As a fan, though, one of the things I do like about Doctor Who is it's a sci-fi show that can jump 5 billion years in the future and get as alien as it wants to. I'm not sure this is the best example of that, but that is, watching it the first time, that is kind of what helped keep me going through the show, was like,
Oh yeah.
oh, there's stuff here that Star Trek can't do, that Stargate can't do, that most of the sci-fi shows out there can't really do,
Or that they don't want to do.
or that they don't want to do. I'm curious to see if they can actually like do something with that. And eventually they did. Or I
That's
guess I
good.
should say they did in the past. Before
Yeah.
And then they did explain the TARDIS translation thing finally, which was really
Yes.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did like Rose basically being like, you put something in my head and you didn't even ask me.
yeah.
She calls him out a lot, and I
Mhm.
do appreciate that.
But does the show side with
No,
her? Because I don't
The
think it does.
show villainizes her for like yelling at him, but I appreciate
Yeah,
as a
yeah.
Yeah.
as a viewer, I'm like, okay, good for her for being like, you did something to my brain and you didn't even
Yeah.
tell me until like after it happened.
And there again is another instance where, like, maybe you didn't need a 5-year-old in your writing room, but maybe you should have had a woman there.
Oh, that might
Yeah.
have been nice.
Our first woman for this era of Doctor Who doesn't show up until season 3.
Yeah, it shows, frankly.
Oh, Jesus.
That's the second thing from this episode that would have had a very different read if a woman had been in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do want to say a brief thing in Davies' defense.
Okay.
Let me guess,
Mhm.
he's totally empathetic with women because he has a woman
No,
friend.
no.
He met a
Sorry.
woman once.
Like,
Yeah. What do you have, Josh?
His mother was a woman.
For the last last episode we covered from this era, I read Davies' novelization of Rose that he wrote, I think, like a decade or so later. And in that novelization, I mentioned he has a trans woman in there who is a sympathetic character who is extremely tertiary to the story, but who does not fit the standard trans woman stereotypes.
Isn't she the one that was in the band with Mickey?
Yes.
Cool. Okay.
And so what I
Right.
want to say is that plus interviews I've read with him more recently, promoting his more recent stuff like It's a Sin, I do get the sense that in the past decade and a half, he has grown as a person and sees things that he did not see before. And I do want to commend him on that growth because it is really hard, or at the very least, it seems like it's hard for creators to grow out of mindsets after they get big.
And good on him for
Yeah.
for showing growth and for, realizing, oh hey, that was probably pretty shitty.
Yeah.
And that I probably shouldn't have done that. That might not have been a great decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was of its time.
And he has supported future creators taking the show in directions he clearly would not have taken at the time. 2005 Davies, though, I am free to point out that he was a bit of a shit.
Yeah, no, 2005 Davies can go rot in a hole. Current Davies is getting better. He can come out of the hole.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we should just lock him in a room for 20 minutes. Half the
Yeah.
episode.
By the way, did anyone else think that when the windows were cracking, wouldn't they have just broken if they had already started to crack and let in that much light? I feel like they were just
The whole science of the platform and how it works.
I
Also,
don't worry about that
why is
stuff.
there-
This is Doctor Who.
yes, why is there an option, an easy option to lower
yeah,
the
it's
sun
one
protection?
button!
One button.
One
button.
button!
I guess maybe if you want to kill yourself in some really flashy
If you want to
way,
slowly
no,
kill
that
yourself,
shouldn't be
go
one
right ahead,
button.
apparently.
He could just lean on the
Mm-mm.
keyboard wrong and he
Yeah.
would die.
But apparently overriding
I
that's multiple
know.
buttons. That's something that...
Yeah, to override
Yes.
it, to lower the
Oh.
shield, it is one button.
Where's the escape button for
I
that?
feel like it should be the other way
Yes,
around. I'm
yes.
just saying.
Good design, guys.
This should be a 2-key scenario.
Because, his coffee was right there. What if he accidentally spilled it and tried to mop it up and push the button?
Yeah.
Or what if the coffee interacted with the wire that
What if
set
the
it
coffee
off?
pushed the button?
Could be lots of things.
Yeah.
I love that his coffee mug was just like a regular
love
coffee
that
mug and
too.
not
I
alien
noticed
at all,
that.
by the way. I thought
Looks
that
like
was
it was
cute.
painted by a kid.
It did, yeah.
Oh no,
Which is the type of thing that a lower level functionary would have.
Yeah.
Some things don't change, and I guess coffee cups are the thing.
I mean, I guess there's some improvement you could make to it, but the overall design is pretty basic.
All right, so I think we'll move on to production. We've been kind of sprinkling production in, but there are probably a few big things left to talk about there.
Were those dwarves or children?
That's what I want to know.
I managed to look it up. At least some of them were children, child actors. I can't find all of them because they're all uncredited.
They're probably kids of
And a lot of them were walking, so I think they're all
they were
kids.
probably kids of people working on
Entirely
set.
possible.
Could you bring your kids in? They'll get to be on TV. It'll be fun.
Yeah, and a lot of them we
Yeah.
will see in future episodes of this season.
And that brings me to another question. I asked you, how much of this is Giant Rat of Sumatra stuff?
What?
And by that, I mean, okay, that comes from Sherlock Holmes. In one of the stories, he mentions the Giant Rat of Sumatra case, but doesn't say anything else about it, and you never find anything out
Oh,
about it.
it's a noodle incident.
Yeah, something that
Yeah.
they refer to, but they don't really explain it. And so I'm wondering, this goes back to the fanfic question, because if they're just throwing these things out to be teases, that's actually kind of good. Whereas if they go back and fill it all in like it's continuity porn, I think that makes it even more fanficky.
I assume you're referring to the aliens we see on the deck and stuff.
The aliens, the places, the locations, the cultural stuff.
There is some stuff.
Some stuff does continue.
Yeah.
We do
Okay.
see the race of the blue skinned people again.
Do we get the trees back? Because I
No.
like the
No, we
trees.
don't get the trees
Why do
back.
they always cancel all the coolest stuff?
Oh, the trees can hang out with the morphos in the Too Cool for Doctor Who
Yeah.
section, I guess.
Kari's creating a whole group of aliens from Doctor Who I would much rather watch.
Yeah. Who would make good toys as well.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
It would be super.
They're basically more verbal Groots.
Yeah.
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 Oh, I would have given anything if that little twig had started dancing in its little pot.
Can we talk about how Rose was given an alien tree and like I'm pretty sure we never see it again.
No, I don't think
No.
we do.
There is a spin-off comic about it.
What about the tree?
Yeah,
They didn't put that in the show? Come on, guys. The hell is their marketing
I
department?
feel like that would be a hilarious like Easter egg if like in the background you just every so often see like a tree getting bigger.
I do kind of love that the EU for Doctor Who in many ways is more bizarre and interesting than the actual show. Like all the
Yeah.
questions you would ever want to ask, there's a book or an audio drama or a
Comic.
comic about it.
there's a penguin in a fedora for that.
Yeah, but we want the penguin and the fedora. That's another missed marketing
How has
opportunity.
Frobisher not shown up? I want Frobisher. Hashtag give me Frobisher.
Budgeting.
They can do
They can
CGI.
find a way
I
to
know.
do it. Come
Shapeshifter.
on.
I know.
Okay.
I was gonna say I don't want to give away too much, but there
Yeah.
are certain characters and there's certain pieces of dialogue that do become important later.
What was the budget on this?
It's hard to find exact number. I don't know.
Like, I don't understand this because, okay, so the BBC is a publicly owned thing. In America, that would mean that we could FOIA the shit out of them and find out exactly how much everything cost down to the last paperclip. I don't understand how they can't give at least a general budget.
They're very secretive about their paper clips.
Yeah,
They're a government entity in Britain.
I don't understand why British people aren't like demanding better accounting of the money that they give, I guess.
I guess they're not as paranoid of their government as we are.
Yeah, like do whatever you want. Here's all my money. Sure.
Just take my money, BBC,
Yeah.
and waste it all on one episode.
Yeah.
I feel like they spent all their money on like makeup and alien design, and then like the actual like location was kind of nothing.
Seems like they just found a temple or something and filmed it there. I don't know.
Everything was studio except for Rose's mom and the scene at the end where he tells her about the Time War.
Yeah.
When he guilts her for like being
Yeah,
angry.
I am in fact almost positive that we see a couple of those hallways again this series.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
What is it? Britain only has like 15 actors, like 10 locations, and 5 props.
Yeah.
And 8 of the locations are quarries.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we still haven't gotten to our first quarry, damn it.
No, we haven't.
Rocks can be used for so many things.
Especially murdering people.
I actually think we'll get to our first quarry in the next episode.
Are there any other big production things that you want to discuss before we head off, Zach?
What I will say is Russell T Davies did take a chance to present more lower class and to have the Doctor for the first time not use received pronunciation.
Which is really nice. Don't get me wrong. That was a good choice and I do like it.
The closest we got before this was Sylvester McCoy, but he still did a Scottish version of received pronunciation.
Right.
And this is very much Eccleston's accent. As much as we say he has class issues, his attempt, he claims, was to try and make the working class more, to try and raise them up.
Or like be more sympathetic towards them.
Yeah.
And he does that with the Doctor. Like
Yeah.
the Doctor is not coded.
But he meant to do that with the other characters as well.
And the other issue there, of course, is that the Doctor's not actually working class.
Exactly.
Oh, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Because he stole that TARDIS.
Yeah.
I'd say that he's from the criminal class. That's my
Oh,
opinion.
dang.
Yeah.
Just being able to go to the Time Lord Academy is like sort of being able to go to like, you know, the posh high public.
Like going to Oxford.
Ivy League.
Yeah.
Okay, but did he actually get in there or did he like hack the system and bullshit his way in?
I mean, that makes for a much more interesting character, honestly.
Yeah.
And what we know of him, he would do that.
Yeah, that's
Good.
true.
I do have one question. Does it say who did the character designs and like what studio was in charge of that?
Yeah.
Okay, so the head production designer on this episode was Edward Thomas. Below him, the special effects makeup was done by Davy Jones, not from The Monkees or Pirates of the Caribbean.
That name actually does sound familiar.
The locker.
And costume design was done by Lucinda Wright. All of the effects were done by a company called The Mill.
While some of the makeup is not great, it does at least show variety.
Yeah.
They definitely tried with a lot of things. Like, I mean, definitely Jabe and the Tree People were the highlight, especially their costuming, their
They look great.
production design. They look amazing. There was definitely like an attempt to make a variety of aliens, which I really appreciate.
Yeah.
I always appreciate practical effects and a variety of them. That's why one of my favorite practical effects scene is the troll market from Hellboy 2.
And they do look really alien.
They do.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of variety in how alien they look, which is what
Yes.
I like.
Not to cut out the legs out from under the show for you, Kari, but it does kind of disappoint me that from here on out, a lot of the alien designs are going to come down to what if human but animal head?
Or what if human, but they have bumps on forehead?
Yeah,
Oh, but
Yeah.
that's the Star Trek thing.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I know.
I'm sorry.
I will say, as the Mox of Valhoon, we had our first appearance of Jimmy V, who is a dwarf actor who does a lot on
Oh.
Doctor Who. He also was the replacement for R2D2.
Ah,
Oh,
Oh,
very
sure. Because he can get into places. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's
he's-
cool.
I
Bill
just wanted to
Burrito.
mention him because we will see him again in this season.
cool. Was he the blue guy?
He's
in,
the
like,
blue guy.
Oh,
Yeah.
Right.
They were originally going to do that special effects, then they were going to do a glove puppet, and then they did a full latex skin for him.
I think it looks really good. I don't want to say I like the character necessarily, but I do like the performance.
Oh, yeah.
The voice is very interesting. The mannerisms are very nice. He has a nice regal feel to him. Like you do get a sense
Exactly.
that he is a
He
dignitary.
has a presence.
Yeah.
Felt like a person.
Yes.
Also, I do want to say, with what she was given, Zoe,
Cassandra?
the actress who played Cassandra,
Ah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
who voiced Cassandra.
She did well.
Like, it's a shitty character and
Yeah.
some shitty writing, but you can tell, like, everything you need to know is in this woman's voice.
Yeah, because the mill did their best, but the effects are.
It has not aged especially well.
I do like that moment where Rose, like, walks around and, like, actually sees that it is literally just
Yeah.
skin. Like, that's a good
Yeah.
moment where she's literally, like, she can't even believe what she's seeing.
Yeah.
She did that with the TARDIS too in the previous episode.
Yes.
And Kari, now you have context for that toy they sold of the empty Cassandra frame.
They made that a toy?
They made it a
Which
toy.
makes that toy
I-
even dumber, because at least I thought it would be more significant than that.
Yeah, they sold it for like 18 pounds or something.
What? I'm sorry. I am angry.
They had earlier sold for less money a full version of Cassandra that came with spider robots.
I mean, I like accessories, so I'm happy with that.
Well, that one was cheaper and had that. No, this one just came with the frame, the burned
That-
frame.
And maybe a one little piece of skin hanging on the
Nope,
outside.
nope, not even that.
That would have been
They
hilarious.
literally just took the character out and tried to sell the frame for a marked up price.
We will link a
That's
picture of this in the show
Yeah,
notes.
we will
Thank you,
have.
because I need to see that.
Okay, so on that note, I would like to get us to our ratings. Now, Alana, being a fellow film person, you know, of course, that opinions are not fluid or unique or changing from person to person and time to time and can grow. They are, in fact, set numbers that
Obviously.
everyone has, and there is, in fact, a right answer to. So we're now going to ask you the question. On a scale of 1 to 4 Daleks, where would you put this episode?
Dang, I was hoping I would go last. But honestly, my first reaction was to give it a 2. But then, like, after talking about it more and, like, all the things I didn't like, the things I like the character design, there's some good moments, like, Rose is really well acted, but, like, it really doesn't make up for everything else. So I'd say a 1.5. 1.5 Daleks out of 4.
Kari, you want to go next?
Oh, the Twilight thing just won.
1 Dalek, a single.
I'm
lone
sorry, but the
Dalek.
doctor is Bella Swan in this. What do you want me to do?
Zach,
After discussing everything and knowing a lot of the production and everything and all the issues that are kind of hinted at and everything, I'm struggling, but I'll say I'll be generous and give it half a Dalek.
holy shit!
Oh, dang!
Can't do
Considering
that?
the hero.
What?
Oh,
Wow.
that's rough.
Wow.
That's rough.
Okay, so
I was being
I-
generous, apparently.
I want to state for the record, before doing this episode and even before the rewatch, I was prepared to give it 3 Daleks because the parts that I liked were very prominent in my memory. After the rewatch, after the discussion, it has fallen a lot further than I even thought it was going to. I'm going to give it 1.5 Daleks. Most of that just comes down to I like the acting, I like the character designs, and there are a couple of jokes in there that I like. And in comparison to Rose, I do think it's a more consistent episode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Tone
correct.
And structure-wise. I think it is more fully formed than Rose was.
The tone is a little more even too,
Yeah.
I think.
And the
Yeah.
editing is definitely less chaotic.
Yes, but on the whole, yeah, I do think it's a weaker episode than Rose was.
I think I definitely, before I rewatched it, I was seeing it with rose-colored glasses.
Yeah.
Because I think I told you before I rewatched it, like I was gonna write down the things I remembered, but really all I remembered was I give you air from my lungs,
Which was cool.
bitchy trampoline, which is a good burn, honestly, and moisturize me. Moisturize me.
Yeah, you know, that's the one thing. This particular episode did help me like increase my moisturization regime.
Oh yeah, I will be moisturizing.
Like I put
after
lotion
this.
on twice in the last day.
You don't want someone to come and explode you.
No, I don't.
By the way, the fact that the toy is actually called Destroyed Cassandra,
Yeah,
like
It's-
what?
I know.
Can we
I know.
dehumanize her some more?
Well, we'll see. All right, so that brings us to the outro. Alana, we want to thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Would you like to take this moment to plug your pluggables?
My pluggables. Yes, I have social media, I guess. You can find me pretty much everywhere at AlanaPon47, Instagram, TikTok. I don't use my Twitter. It's
How do you
fine.
spell it?
ILANAPON47.
And we will leave a link to the TikTok and Instagram in the doobly-doo down below.
And
Yes.
I'm also on a weekly D&D stream, Asgard's Adventures. I believe it's under Viking Boyo on Twitch. It's on Saturdays, and it's a fun time. And I also have an Etsy shop called Roguish Relics. I make dice, I make jewelry, and I just started making slab molds for dice, so hopefully I will be uploading some more products on there soon.
Cool.
Cool.
Do you think Doctor Who fans play tabletop role-playing games? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the overlap is there.
It's like a circle on a Venn diagram.
I was gonna
Just
say
a circle.
no, I don't like alien people, says the girl who plays a 7-foot-tall orc.
Yeah. So you can find Alana at all of those places, and maybe here in the future. We will see.
If
In
you'll
the
have
meantime,
me.
if you liked this episode, be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell on YouTube, follow us on Twitter and Facebook down below to get updates. We're on Buzzsprout and all assorted podcast related sites, so you can download us off of there. Listen to us while you jog, while you work, while you try and build your own TARDIS in the backyard. I'm not
sure
going
to
to tell
feed
you
it.
it's impossible.
And definitely follow the Facebook page because there are some quality memes on there.
Yes, there
Yes.
are. We got some good memes.
Got the good shit.
So next time though, we are jumping back to the 1970s to hit up again with the Third Doctor as we see the introduction of one of my favorite monsters on the show as we enter Doctor Who and the Silurians.
They can't be as cool as the brain slugs, though.
Is anything?
We will see.
No.
They're very cool.
But I mean, is it as cool as an empty frame uppriced?
In the meantime, be sure to feed your TARDIS and moisturize. Always
Moisturize me!
moisturize.
Moisturize me!
Moisturize!
Talking to a twig.